We're ready to get rolling.
I'm McNair.
McNair Jonathan Friedberg.
Hi, Jonathan.
Nice to meet you.
And Herb, you can come in too.
You didn't keep a chocolate for me?
There's one more there. There's one
Oh,
piece.
there is. So there is.
People really scarf that chocolate up. So I'm going to get cozy in here.
Am I going to
So-
have to take notes?
No, I'm videotaping this, so you're going to be able to go back and look at the video.
Should I sit facing the computer?
Yeah. Try to get as close in as you can.
Can we turn slightly? Thank you.
Oh, so tell me when to start.
You can start
Sorry.
anytime.
Okay. I use, first of all, I say I'm not an expert. Okay, so.
Yes, but you're the only one having calls coming in from Amsterdam that sounds good. So I think that might set you up as being more expert than you think.
Okay. There's several parts, moving parts to this process.
And what is the process? Can you just give me an
The
overview
process
of what we're
is-
discussing?
People call in from around the country. I set it up ahead of time. These are pre-recorded calls that after I record them, I go back and edit them, put in the music, that sort of thing, and then I air it. When I do those, I do mostly live shows, but every now and then I do, maybe one a month average of call-in, pre-recorded show. If they're not in the city. If they're in the city, they come in here and I do a pre-recorded show, if they can't come for the live show. So they're calling in. The station does not have the capability to do live call-ins through the board on a live show. Some people have used a smartphone and had people call in a smartphone when they're on the air, and then they position the microphone in front of the smartphone, put it on the speaker, and I haven't done that. So there's that option, or there's the option to do pre-recorded long distance.
And to do the live call in, to use your smartphone and put it on a mixer or on a mic, it sounds okay. And they all do it all over the country, so it's not unusual to do it that way, and it's the simplest way. But to use this system, pre-record it, and get it onto the editing software sounds the best.
But like if I'm doing a call to Europe or something, they're 5 or 6 hours ahead, so it really wouldn't work for them to be on my show at 5 o'clock on Thursday afternoon. So it depends on where they're located and around the globe. So, you can use, for this process, you can use Zoom or Skype. I don't know much about Skype, so I use a program called Zoom, which is like Skype. You can do the video and the audio portion. And I pay $15 a month to have a Zoom account. So when I get ready to, I set it all up ahead of time, then I let them know 30 minutes before we're going to do the recording. I send them the call-in number and the meeting number. So if they're in Amsterdam, there is a number in Amsterdam they can call, so that they're not calling
Long distance.
Yeah, and then they just enter the meeting number, and they're hooked into Zoom.
Okay,
And
so
all these different countries have their own number that Zoom
I see.
gives us.
I think Google Voice could be used for that too, or
Really?
Google Meeting.
Yeah.
Google, there's an app in Google.
Yeah,
that
probably
you could have.
any system that would let you do a recording
Mhm.
through the computer, through the internet, would work, I would imagine.
So as they're calling in from Amsterdam, you
Yeah.
are recording on your computer what they're
Well,
saying.
no, it's going from coming into Zoom, and then I have my computer hooked into the mixing,
I see.
the mixer here.
And the mixer does what? Forgive my
Well,
ignorance.
It's okay.
you want to talk about that part?
So that's where we pre-record a show using these mics, this mixer here, and that computer with that software on there.
Okay.
So that's editing software, and you record into it, and then you can go back and you could, if you have a dead air space, or if they said something that you want to cut out, or if there are too many uhs, you can go in, you can really zero in on an nth of a second and go in and edit out. But so what he's doing is running this phone call from his computer into this mixer, and this mixer is recording it onto the editing software there.
And the editing would then be done after you've finished
And
speaking
then
to
to-
that person
yeah.
and ready to put it into the program itself.
Yeah.
Yes.
So if you were in like a for-profit radio station, they would have a telephone line that goes right into the mixer. And you would just, they'd be calling in and you'd be able to adjust the volume for the call in.
I see.
But this is serving that purpose, since we don't have a line in,
I get it.
okay?
Sounds like fun.
So I send them the number, they call in, I do like a test on the volume, that sort of thing, and then it's pretty much just like recording, like if you had someone sitting here on a mic doing a pre-recorded interview. A couple of things, what you need to do when I've noticed it more when it's, because like Devine said, you may want to go back and delete some of the pauses or cut out some of the, people talk sometimes. That shortens your show. So you're either going to have to add longer music to take up space to fill whatever time you want to fill up, like my show's an hour, or at the end of the show, don't let them hang up and ask 2 or 3 more questions so that you'll have those to insert back into the show in case you're short. By the time you edit out pauses and things like I did a show, someone from Atlanta, and he was a good spokesperson, but he was very deliberate and pondered his answers. So there was a lot of gaps between the question and the answer. So I had to take out a lot of those gaps. So that left me short, but I had asked a couple of questions at the end of the show, which I was able to insert. 2 weeks ago, I did a show like this to somebody in New York, Oxfam, and I didn't ask the extra questions because she was in a hurry to get off, and so by the time I took out a lot of her I just, rather than use my regular exit music, I used just a regular song, a long enough song at the end that was 2.5 minutes that took up the empty space when I exited the show.
So could we go to that interview and let us hear how that sounded, or maybe even go to the Amsterdam interview?
Before we do that, is it a very difficult thing to learn how to handle all this?
If I can learn it, anybody can learn it. I will say, I went with Hint. There's 2 programs in here. There's other programs out there for editing software. The one I use is Hindenburg, but there's also one on here called, what is it, Audacity?
Audacity.
And that is on the stations.
Yeah.
That's the station software, not your own software on your computer.
Well, I
But-
bought it for my home. I bought it to use at home. It's like $100 a year.
I
Yeah,
see.
The
but
Hindenburg.
but Hindenburg has some fantastic tutorials on YouTube that you can go and watch, and you can really learn how to work that software
Okay.
very easily watching their tutorials. They've got great tutorials. And then you come in here, we have the professional version here on this, because Hindenburg is a software for broadcasting. So it's got little tweaks that are better for broadcasting. The other one that's on here is a free program called Audacity, and it works basically very similar. They all editing software basically works very similar. It records your voice, and then you can go back and you can go in and edit it, and you can raise and lower the volume. And you can, and then, and when you get advanced, you can go in and take, well, if there's an ambient noise that you don't like, you can isolate that noise and go in and get that software to remove that noise all the way through the whole file.
But see,
So-
the version I have at home of Hindenburg, I didn't buy the $300 version, which she has here. I bought the $100 version, and it doesn't have that noise reduction capability. Audacity does, but my version at home, which is where I do the editing, doesn't. But so it's good to know you've got that here.
I think I've got that one here, but I'm not
It's
sure.
a bit more
you know.
expensive. Like she said, it's a professional. Mine's just like a pro.
So, if once you've run it through your own Hindenburg, could you come here and run it through this one?
Yes,
Get
yeah,
rid of all the other
yeah,
stuff?
yeah. Well, and you've got your you have it on Flash, and you can come in here and you can tweak it a little bit more.
see.
And the YouTube videos have a lot of examples of how to do different things on that software.
And what it does is it records onto this computer when I'm doing the recording, and so I save it on a travel drive and take it home and edit it at home on my desktop.
I see. Okay.
So the wire comes out of the headphone over there outlet and plugs into these right and left channels. So it comes out a single and splits into a dual left and right. It goes in the ST return. And if you ever decide to do it, I can show you this again.
And did you order this cable from
I
like
got it
Amazon or
from-
something?
No, I got it from Guitar Center.
Okay, so it's basically it's an audio out here, and it's two RCA cables there, or
Yeah, and it's the ST return.
And does it make any difference if I've got a Mac and not a Windows
oh
computer?
no difference at all.
Okay.
It's just so much easier for us smart
Yeah.
Mac
So there's a
people.
Guitar Center on Tunnel Road that I got this from, and it works fine.
So okay, so let's go listen to one of the call-ins. So what he does after he's got it all through is he just went to his file, his folder, and this is where all the programs are stored in his folder. And then the automation, whenever he wants to play a pre-recorded show, we've got it set up so the automation knows how to go and grab that particular show and play it.
It really is a different world for me. It's wonderful.
Yeah, it's pretty
It's
pretty neat.
Yeah.
So here's the one from the 16th. This is Oxfam, which was recorded over the internet.
I started working in this arena in the late 80s in southern Africa, where I worked in Lesotho and Zimbabwe during the heyday of apartheid. I started out as a Peace Corps volunteer, and it helped.
Is
so-
that already been edited to remove the ums and the ers?
Yeah. I couldn't remove them all.
Yeah.
As it was, it took me 4 or 5 hours to just do what I did.
Wow.
The thing about this, it takes you a lot longer to do than it does to do a live show. You do a live show, whatever prep work you do the show, it's over. Here you do the prep work, and then you've got to do the editing part. So it's a lot more time consuming when you're calling in than if somebody's in the studio with you, because the quality is a lot better.
But if you are having a very interesting person from somewhere around the world to do an interview, it's worth the trouble to go ahead and do it.
Exactly. And sometimes, and you can either do it through the Wi-Fi, or I hooked up this cable to the Netgear box, so I get the direct internet connection.
Yeah, that's an Ethernet connection, and
Does
that's
that make it clearer?
well, it's
It's more dependable.
more
more
dependable.
dependable.
So
I've
yeah,
got the Wi-Fi, and it's working on here, but the call falls out or something. But I haven't had that happen with this the past 2 times.
yeah. So it definitely helps to just go ahead and wire it up to Ethernet.
Okay.
So let's see if I can find the one to Amsterdam.
Yeah, I'd love to get the one for Amsterdam. It was about a month ago.
Oh, that one was to London. I had one to Canada.
How do you find all these people across the world? Can you get them to speak? Are these personal associates of yours, friends of yours?
I hear, like, there was one I did from Canada, which which was I had heard from a friend of mine. You know, you can find just about anything on the internet, and then you get in touch and see if they're interested in being on the show.
And a lot of times they are, aren't they?
They also have a point of view that they want to
Mm-hmm.
express as far
Very
as-
few people turn down an interview on the radio.
Yeah.
Well, it depends on what your show's about, what kind
Yeah.
of show format you're setting on. My show is so that they can express their point of view and about what their organization's doing. The title of my show is Better World, so I wanted to highlight what these different people and organizations.
Is that what your show's called? It's a better world?
A Better World.
A
yeah.
better world.
Yeah.
So
I look at-
that already has a positive connotation.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's people and organizations that are working in economic, social justice, healthcare, education, new perspective on spirituality, whatever they're doing to help create a better world, whatever it is. So, and it's not a confrontational type interview. It's more for them to be able to share.
And a lot of this is driven by your own innate curiosity about the world.
Yeah, that was my original proposal to Devine. So.
Okay.
So it just depends on what kind of show you're doing. you
Right.
know. So here's one child's visit.
And he does a great show, by the way.
This was to Canada.
5 or 40 years old. So that's a missing generation.
You
There
can
have been
see the
millions
quality's not the same as if
of
they were in the
individuals
studio.
within that generation.
Yeah, but it's
that passed,
very
and
good.
they
Yeah.
the
He has a
often care for these
educational
children.
orphanage in
And of course,
Nairobi, but he
grandmother
lives in
has,
Canada.
You know,
in
is
Canada.
frail, is, maybe
So-
we
so it's
met
that
one
kind of
grandmother that was in our
Quality,
program.
you know.
Well, it's
she
a,
was taking
you can
care of
tell
9
it's a
children
call-in,
on
but it
about
doesn't
75
sound that
dollars
much
a
different from Amy Goodman's call-ins from around the world.
Yeah.
So
To me, it sounded pretty clear.
it's pretty good.
You can like Devine said one time, you get the information.
Well, yeah, and it opens up your audience or your potential guest to infinity.
I mean, it's a little beyond the scope of what Devine wants to do at the station, but she was okay when I made the proposal. I do local stuff, but I also do people from other parts of the country.
Well,
and the world.
yeah, as long as it's something that fosters dialogue and entertains and informs,
But one of the things
that's
that I
what
said
we
to you
want.
was a program on immigration,
Mhm.
and I was thinking about some of my friends that I left behind in South
Mm-hmm.
Africa, who might have particular views
Mhm.
on their status that they
Right.
did not emigrate from South Africa, and their views as to how they see the world now and what their decisions meant for them in the
Mhm.
long term.
That would be a very interesting program.
You know,
That would be really interesting. Herb is second generation from escaping from Russia.
well, so
Yeah, like tomorrow I've
And
got
and his DNA for since I've been knowing him, he thought he was Greek, and his cousin has done a DNA test,
I'm Jewish.
and they're Jewish.
Man, like that.
you know what they say about it being Jewish.
I don't know.
Once you're a Jew, you can never be anything else. You're always a Jew. And I'm allowed to say that because I'm Jewish.
I know, and so he was like, "Whoa, I thought I was Greek."
Do you know?
all right.
Do you know there was the death of a cardinal in Paris some years back, and our president, I think it was Clinton at the time, attended the funeral. And outside the cathedral was this cardinal's brother saying the Jewish prayer for the dead, the prayer of mourning. And somebody said to him, "What are you doing?" He said, "That's my brother that's just died." And he said, "But he was a cardinal. Why are you saying the Jewish prayer for the dead?" And he said, "Because my brother asked me to before he died." And so, once a Jew, doesn't matter what you do.
Right,
Okay,
right.
but I'm sorry, that was an aside.
That's-
I'm
yeah, but
interrupting
that's
the
right. No,
I'm
it's-
interrupting the program. I beg your
Oh,
pardon.
that's all right. So that's the basics, and we listened to a couple of McNair's examples,
Yeah, like
and
here's
it's
one-
pretty
here's
simple.
one from Amsterdam.
Okay.
But that's mostly because of all the confusion that has been created. What's interesting about
So there's,
the
you know,
it's
Is it-
Let it just play for a few minutes and I can sort of get a feel.
Yes, well, he was actually the first to speak out.
This was
so
about,
openly. His account was not the first to be
this is about
published,
UFOs.
but
He's written several
he
books
was
on
the first to
UFOs, but
speak
he
out
lives
so
in Holland.
openly. He had published
But the
some
quality's
articles,
decent.
Something wrong.
And on the radio, it sounded a little better than this on the radio.
The moon through his telescope that he had set up, and when
Quality's been.
It's great.
I mean, if I got somebody on here and the
Right
quality
here.
was, huh?
It's
Yeah.
wonderful.
Yeah, I can't. I mean,
I wouldn't, if it was bad quality, I wouldn't even, I'd just scratch it off in the area, because I don't want to put out anything that's not good quality. At least
So,
quality-wise.
so the technique to do the call in is better on a pre-record in the production room, and then you edited it. And your next step, if you were to decide to do this, would be to learn a little bit about the editing software.
Or you can do a live during a show using a smartphone.
Yeah, yeah, you
I
can
mean,
do.
could-
Yes, yeah.
The only thing,
which would just, I'm sorry,
go ahead.
as a newcomer, which would be easier, McNair,
In here.
to do the
If
pre-recording?
you're doing a long distance?
Yes.
I don't even have a smartphone. I've got a flip phone, so I would say probably this. But if you're adept with smartphones, I don't know why it wouldn't. Depends on how nervous. I think once you do a few live shows, then you'd be okay doing a smartphone.
How long
But
have
if
you?
it's your first one, I probably wouldn't do a smartphone.
If when you're doing your first shows, it's better to keep it as absolutely simple as possible. So if you want to do call-ins, do it in here until you get second nature on
On
what goes
board.
on in there.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So the investment in time in pre-recording it and editing it gives one a feel and a confidence to be able to do it live
Yes,
afterwards.
yes, yeah, it helps.
Because if you're on the air and it's live and there's a glitch, it's awful. But you can always get rid of a glitch if you
Exactly.
pre-recorded it.
Yes.
Yeah, the biggest glitch in there would be is if you lose connection.
Yeah.
Then you've got to think fast.
As
and
far
put
as
some music or
yeah,
something.
as far as the conversation goes,
Yeah.
but there are other glitches that happen that working the broadcast room in general that can happen too, that you inadvertently knock us off the air and stuff like that.
Yeah, I did a whole interview a couple months ago and we weren't even on the air.
It's free.
Now I can't get them to respond to my emails anymore.
Was that a live? Obviously a live one.
Yeah. Stuff happens sometimes, and so there's
75 shows though. That's the only time that's happened.
yeah, that's not bad.
Well, I'll be my 75th.
You're talking
Great.
about technical glitches.
Yes.
I'm talking about situational glitches that you
Yeah,
can't,
technical
that you Sort
glitches-
of don't know how to cope with something that somebody says. How do you those are the
Well,
sort of
see,
things.
that's why
it would
it's
be
better
easier
to do
pre-record.
it in here, because when you've got them live in there, and
You've
if
really
they
got to
if
be
they
able to dance on
yeah
your toes.
yes,
Okay.
and that takes practice.
What do you mean by?
Like if they say the F word or something.
Or if
I haven't, out of all these shows, I've never had anybody say that.
Yeah, but
Okay,
your
Well, my
Your
my
guests
are
are-
of a certain standard.
yes, they're a higher standard. So there's that.
I'm getting a good idea. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to wrap up our video
Actually,
here.
I did play a